Do you want more than you have? Do you want things to be different than they are? Are you ready to create a new life for yourself? If so, then today's episode may be for you. I'll be sharing 5 tips to create anything you desire. In this show, we start to unlearn some of the programming, to unwind it. And one of the ways to just unwind it is tip number 1, my very favorite, and that is clarity. Clarity is power. It's about focusing on what you want, focusing on what is calling to you, what is speaking to you. Ask yourself the question, what would satisfy me? Really, what would satisfy you is my question to you. What would make you feel gratified and satisfied and excited about life? And what is calling to you? Instead of focusing on all the things you should do, you must do, you have to do, you've been told to do. And I've been there myself for a long time. We focus on all the things that other people are telling us, the way the world should be, the way our life should be, what we should be doing, how we should be showing up. And it gets kind of murky and muddy and depressing. So start to get clarity about what you want. That is part of the secret sauce. In one of the episodes on reinventing, I think it was the part 2 of that process, I talk about a fire and ice process. There are a bunch of questions, and 2 of them are, what would I love? And how do I want to feel? So go back into that episode if you want to learn a lot more. But I'm going to ask you, if you have a pen and paper, to write those down. What would I love? And how do I want to feel? Really begin to give yourself permission to focus on what you want, not what you don't want, because we've talked about this before. Energy flows where attention goes. So we want to focus on the things that light us up, that make us feel good, the things that we love, and then begin to shift our language around it. This is when we begin to start focusing on conscious language. Again, we talked about this before. The I am, I have, the being, the doing, and the positive language. Okay, so in that, doing that, we get more clarity. And when we talk about clarity, we want to name it. We want to name the thing that it is. So if you want a more beautiful life or a more beautiful world, start naming it. Stand in front of the mirror and just say, I am Rhonda. I have the most beautiful life. I have amazing friends. I have a home that I feel safe in, that I feel good in, that supports me in what I want. So just start naming it. And those may not be the things for you, but name it and speak it out loud, because when we speak it out loud, it up-levels it. It helps refine our clarity. And in that clarity process, you want to dive in to know who you really are. Because when you know who you are, without all the labels, without all the shoulds, you get clearer and clearer. There are ways to build clarity through our breath, through conscious language. We can do a whole episode on breathing techniques. If that appeals to you, I would love to hear from you. Share in the comments, reach out at katmoulton.com, email me kat@katmoulton.com. Let me know what it is you're looking for, how I can help you refine this process. But really name it. And the other part of naming it and knowing who you really are is know your why. Because sometimes we might want something. We want to create something. We have a desire for something. But if we don't know what our why is and what's driving us, it's really hard to stick with it. And then we get murky again. We get unclear. So name it, know your why, know who you really are, use some conscious language, really build things to help you get clear in your body. On my website, on katmoulton.com, I have a thing, it's called Clarity, Courage, and Calling. So it's really important to go back to that basis and get some clarity. If you need help with that, reach out. We are going to jump cut to tip number 2, and that is visualize. Once you have the clarity, immerse yourself in the energy of whatever that picture is. We talk about creating. Well, everything is created twice. First in the mind and then in reality. And that's why clarity is so important. Because when we're clear, we want to close our eyes and visualize it. Visualize that new job, that new relationship, that new home, whatever it is. Or maybe it's not new, but it's an up level of it. It's healthier, it's bigger, it's better. It actually might even be smaller. I was in a real estate training a few years ago, and we were at a round table, hundreds of people. We were given some of these different types of exercises, and we had to share our thoughts or what we wrote down with a partner and have them witness us. And being witnessed is highly important. But when I shared mine, I shared my goal, my visualization was to live in a smaller home or a smaller living space. I had a large home. We had 9 rooms, 3 full bathrooms, an acre, lots of space, lots of stuff. And I knew that in my clarity, I wanted to downgrade the size and the stuff and let go of it because it was weighing me down and it wasn't what was serving me. So I had to stop and visualize. But when I was in this exchange with my accountability partner at this exercise, she's like, why don't you want something bigger? We always want something bigger. And I'm here to tell you, we don't necessarily. That is someone else's truth. When you get clear and you start to visualize what is true for you. Tap into the inside. And I'm going to invite you to call your energy back to you. Name what is true to you and claim it. And you may have to reframe it and disregard what other people are telling you, like this woman. There's nothing wrong with bigger and better. That's what she wanted. She had this huge house, and in it, she showed me a picture of like a 12-foot Christmas tree. But that didn't resonate with me and on the journey I'm on right now. So get clear and begin to visualize what you want in your mind for you. And when you visualize it in your mind, then you can bring it into the 3D. And for myself, what happened was I wrote it down, and a few months later, we sold our house. My husband and I had split up. I was his realtor. I helped him buy a smaller house for him, and I moved into a very small 2-bedroom apartment that feels so good for me. And it's about what I need. So in this part about visualizing it, let go of other people's expectations. Visualize what feels good for you and start giving it focus. Picture it in your mind's eye, write it down if you need to, put it on a vision board, however it calls to you. Start to visualize it and visualize you being in that energy. And you want to kick it up a notch and start feeling it in your body. Feel the energy of it. So I started feeling what it would like to be in a smaller space. And it felt good, and it felt safe, and it felt lighter because there was so much less stuff to put away, less stuff to take care of, less stuff that was taking my energy up. I have a guide, 3 things that are depleting your energy. And the 3rd tip in it is too much stuff. So if that appeals to you, reach out to me, or, go to the website and download, or go to the Win-Win store, and look up the 3 things that are depleting your energy. I really want to invite you with tip 2 to call your energy back to you. Visualize what you want and then begin to feel it in your body, because when we feel it, we can make it real. That is one of the things that's often overlooked, is that feeling and that sensation of it. So when we feel it, it helps us to create it. Because if it's just in our mind and we just speak it and we don't put emotion into it, it's a lot harder to make it our reality. Okay, so moving on, tip number 3, and this is one that I struggled with for a while, is ask for it. You've probably heard the phrase, ask and it is given. And we need to tap into source, tap into God, tap into our angels, our guides, whatever it is to you. Just ask. So I had to ask for a smaller house. I had to ask for a different living situation because I wasn't happy in the one that I was in. And I knew that for a long time. But when I just thought about not wanting to be there, when I focused on what I didn't want, It wasn't happening. The doors were not opening. Timing didn't work. And I was stuck in a place that I was unhappy. So I had to ask for it. So ask and it is given. And in that process, be open to receiving it. Stop pushing against the current and feeling like it can't happen. Know that you can have it. Know that you can receive it. And start doing the things that help you get there. Stop focusing on the negative. And shift your energy into a receiving energy. And for a lot of us, that means relaxing into it. Relaxing, being open, and getting clear. Because when we are not relaxed, when we are uptight, we're worried, that worry energy actually repels things. So we have to relax and let go and accept and trust that things will come to us in their own time. But the biggest part of that, again, is ask. If you've never asked, then how does the door open? So ask for what you want. Practice asking in the mirror. Put it on your vision board. Write it in your journal and just ask and say, I would like to have X. I would like it to have it in this way and in this time. And then start to affirm that you do have it. So let's say it is a new relationship. And I want to talk about relationships, one, because that's the space that I'm in. And also on Tuesday evenings on Clubhouse, I do a room with Sea Shepherd. She is a love life strategist, and we talk about relationships every week. And she has the best tips on how to create a new relationship for yourself. And I'm there in the support because if you've been watching this show and know anything about me, what I talk about is that the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. And cultivating that relationship with you and with Source can help create whatever it is that you ask for. So if you're asking for a new relationship, you want to go to tip number 1 and get clear on what type of relationship you want. And then visualize it, tip number 2. But ask for it. Ask, put it out there into the universe and ask that it will come to you. And learn to relax. When we relax in that softened energy, things begin to show up. And we want to talk about the gift of noticing. Start to notice when things show up, because we're going to get to, in a minute, taking action, right? We talk about this every time we talk about creation and manifestation. And that brings me to tip number 4. That tip is courage. You have to have the courage to walk through the door or say yes to when what you've asked for shows up. This is not about being motivated. There's a big difference I've been researching. It's about being inspired, taking that inspired action, releasing the FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Release that from your system. And I have processes for that. We've talked about in other episodes. But then take the action, because when the thing shows up, when the person, we might not expect him to, or her or them to be in a certain package, but when it shows up for us, we have to start saying yes and step into it because we've asked. We have to have that courage to take the step. I also have in the Win-Win store a free, or I don't think it's free, I think it might be $9, Inner Courage Connection Guide. If you can't afford it, reach out to me. I will gift it to you for free. But it's really about that knowing the self, tapping into our courage. Because if you study energy and you learn about David Hawkins' map of consciousness, courage, the energetic level of 200 is the game changer, right? It is when we step into courage, when we release doubt, when we release apathy or anger, and not focus on those. When we rise up to courage, that shifts our energy and that helps us step into the things that we've asked for. We have to take action. So if we don't step into it, if we don't answer the call, we're not going to be able to fully receive what it is that we're asking for, that we're wanting to create, that we've been thinking about. We have to go from the mind into the body, into the heart, and then out into the world, and have the courage to do it. And that's why I talk so much about getting out of your head and into your heart, because the root word of heart is core, right? In French and in Latin, it is courage. So have the courage to do and have and be whatever it is that you are asking for and wanting to create. So tip number 5 is commitment. We've begun to take the action, right? Now we have to commit to the process. Commit to trusting that it's going to show up. Commit to ourselves and our desires. And when fear shows up, as it will, and that's normal and it's okay, it's not about denying the fear. It's about having the courage to move through it and continuing to take the action steps, right? It's not about shifting gears and walking away. You know, we want to stay focused, not turn our head. Keep our eyes on the prize, allow it to unfold. We may have to rinse and refine, but stay committed. And that's why that relationship with ourselves is so important, because we have to commit to ourselves, to what it is we're creating, to what it is we want to birth into the world. Commit to the calling that we have been, hearing. And a lot of times we hear that in our ear, in our mind's eye. In the last episode I did, I talked about the 8 clairs, right, of intuition. We hear things, we know things. It speaks to us over and over, and we feel like, I want to create this, I want to do this. And when we feel that pull, it is meant for us to do. So you want to answer the call. But this is about taking the action and the inspired action. If we just work on motivation and we take any old action steps that aren't inspired, that aren't cultivated from the desire, from the vision, it actually takes us off course. So this isn't about taking any old action, inspired action. And that's why the commitment is so important, because when we commit, we show up day after day and do the things we're called to do. Rinse and refine, do the next step. And sometimes we don't have to have all the answers. We just have to keep stepping in faith. What is the next step for me? And that's when we ask again. Go back to the asking. What is my next right step? And what is the next best step for me to take to get me to this goal, to get me to having this thing that I want, that I desire, that I'm here to create or do or be? And it becomes a process. So I want to recap these 5 for you really quickly before we move on to the bonus. And there are many other things, and we touched on facets of it in the list, going through this process. But tip number 1, clarity. We talked about that the most because that is one of my favorites, and I think that is the baseline of how we do this. We have to be clear, because if we're not clear on what we want to create, what we're here to do, it never comes to fruition. Right? Tip number 2, visualize it. Picture it in your mind, and picture it in reality. And we can talk so much more about visualization at another time if that speaks to you. Tip number 3, ask. Ask for it. Ask and it is given. If we don't ever ask, it cannot be given to us. So don't forget. It's so important. Number 4, courage, the energy of the heart. Step into courage. Breathe the courage in, because sometimes if what we're asking for is big, fear may show up. And remember, fear is a normal, natural response. Just don't let it stop you. Ask Archangel Michael, for the courage to move forward, to power up. Ask God. Ask a friend. If you don't have the courage, lean into something or someone greater than yourself. Borrow their courage and keep moving forward. Number 5 is commit to it. We have to be committed, because if we just ask for it once and let it go, sometimes it does come to us. But we have to circle back and stay strong in our commitment and our conviction to ourselves and to the vision. And that's why visioning in other episodes we've talked about, envisioning, revisioning, visioning is so important. We have to stay committed. We can shift it and we can refine it as we grow and change. But if we don't stay committed, it often doesn't come to fruition. Okay, and I promised you a bonus. So number 6 for the bonus is gratitude. And you might hear about this all the time, and sometimes we forget, because when things come to us, we forget in each step to be thankful for what is showing up, right? You might have heard this, it sounds a little cliche, but gratitude gives us more of what we want. Gratitude makes us more of who we already are. When we are grateful for the simple things, the little things every day, it really enhances the manifestation, the creation process. So when we wake up in the morning, if we are grateful to be alive, grateful to have another day to work on this thing that we are creating, grateful for the opportunities that have come to us when we ask, it ups the energy, right? And it feels good. So gratitude is so important. In Clubhouse, I've done a room a couple of times called Grounding, Gratitude, and Grace. I think I've weaved it into parts of other episodes. We'll do a whole episode on it. You know, around Thanksgiving, I did a room, if you look back to November, all about living in gratitude. We think about it often at Thanksgiving time in the States, or, you know, in Canada, or any culture that celebrates some types of Thanksgiving. It's important to weave it into every day. You know, I know that life happens and it gets bumpy, and sometimes we forget. And I have forgotten on many occasions to be grateful. I remember about a decade, maybe more than a decade or so, when I was trying to work things out with my husband before, you know, giving it another try, before moving into divorce, the coach that I had worked with really helped me see about how gratitude can shift energy, about appreciation for what we have can shift energy. So I decided not to continue to be angry with my husband, but to sit at the dinner table with him and the kids and offer gratitude every day for the little things that he did for us, or that supported us. You know, be grateful for his job that provided for us. Be grateful for the things that he did, not focus on the things he didn't do. So that really began to shift the energy in our relationship. But there came a time for me that it still wasn't the relationship I want to be on. And the gratitude actually gave me the clarity to know that I didn't want to be in that situation. But it gave me the appreciation for the things that were working and that were good. And I could go back and do this rinse and refine. And I could go back through the clarity, the visualizing, the asking, you know, all those things. And when I wanted to leave, I had to have the courage to do it, to step into the vision I had for myself. And then the commitment to myself to keep doing it and showing up, because things got bumpy sometimes when we make changes. Just know that, and know that that's okay, but keep focused and come back to gratitude and ground yourself in the energy of gratitude for the things that are working, for the things that you desire. It can help boost things up and help us keep in that flow when things get a little off. And it can help keep us on track and stay committed and keep on taking the action steps that we want to take. So that's my bonus, gratitude. Don't forget to be grateful. If you're struggling with it, just find one little thing that you can be grateful for. And it just might be that the sun came out that day, or that you saw someone laughing and it made you smile. Be grateful for that, because that energy can help build upon it. Just keep looking for little things to be grateful for. And as the big things come to you, the bigger things, be grateful for them and feel that energy and let it cycle through your life. So I thank you for being here today. I hope that these tips were helpful. If you're here watching live, let's have a conversation about creation and all the things that go along with it, and being grateful for whatever it is that we're creating and how it's showing up. If you're watching this on the replay, I thank you so much. Join me in my community at Kreatrix.club to dive deeper into these conversations. It's Kreatrix.club.